Hello, Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. I wanted to jump on very quickly this morning. It's morning in Australia, and I've been up most of the night watching Mueller testify before the House Judiciary Committee and also the House Intelligence Committee. I actually thought that even though he said very few words and he relied on his report, which is what we thought would be happening, what I felt, what I saw was a very disciplined man. And, you know, he stepped out, if I can just put it like that. He stepped out when he had to. And when he did step out, that was quite significant. The other thing that I saw also was a very disciplined Democrat team wanting to get Mueller on the record for possible potential high crimes and misdemeanors. So this was part of setting, and I think one of the Republicans actually did say, is this all about impeaching Donald Trump? And, you know, I think it is. It absolutely is. They needed Mueller to testify. They needed to get him on the record on several key things. It was very interesting to watch, and also to watch the Republicans who were just so emotionally bereft almost, yelling at Robert Mueller. And then the way that Robert Mueller dealt with that one Republican, I think, who probably yelled the loudest and you know, became very red in the face. And Mueller just let him go on and on and on. And at the end, he sat there and he just said, "I'll take your question." And, you know, at other times, there was just silence, long silences at the end of these diatribes where there was no question asked. I thought Mueller was very much in control during that testimony, very much in control. Now, the other, I guess, there's been some hot takes, what I would call hot takes on Mueller's testimony, which will actually morph and evolve in the next 24 hours. What pundits are actually noticing or saying now will be different in about 24 hours. One of the, I guess, criticisms was that Mueller was a man of few words. But he was skating on very, very thin ice. He had to be very, very careful that he did not undermine his own report in any way, or give the Republicans or Trump or Barr any cause at all to undo any of the work he's already done. I thought at times, even though he sounded tired, and I guess he would be, he is, 75, you know, after 2 years, he was asked why he took that on, and he actually said, after much prodding, that it was actually, he felt it was a challenge, and I do feel that it was more than a challenge for Robert Mueller. I also feel that his demeanour was probably orchestrated as well. He didn't give any side the opportunity for a soundbite, one of those, you know, the very quick news cycle sound bites, or any opportunity to draw him into something that would, as I said, underline his report. Now, in 20 years, we won't be hearing about the Republicans that were yelling at him. We will have the Mueller report in front. It will be a teaching document. It will be a policy document. This is something that's very sustainable. All through my readings, I kept pulling the Eight of Pentacles with Mueller, the King of Swords, which represented Mueller, the lawman, and the Eight of Pentacles, which represented the legacy that he was going to leave. It was going to be a sustainable legacy. So I do feel that it was a very important testimony. When I got the two devils yesterday in my reading, I think it's quite obvious who is the devil. I think that's quite obvious now. The circular nature of the testimony, which you saw coming through the cards yesterday, was also reflected in the way that Mueller would not be drawn. I did see him open up with Adam Schiff, who I thought performed extremely well. I thought Jerry Nadler also performed. They were the high points of the testimony. Also around the questioning around whether or not the Donald Trump or anyone who was contacted by the Russians should have informed the FBI. Mueller went a little bit further than Adam Schiff did and said that's actually a crime. So, there were, and I guess also in the testimony before the House Intelligence Committee, we also learned, which I think we already knew, but Mueller confirmed it, that there is still an ongoing FBI counterintelligence investigation into Trump. So, the Democrats achieved what they wanted. They got him on the record. I think, as Representative Ted Lieu said, he said true, yes, correct, to some very damning evidence in his report. That's the sort of stuff, with Mueller now on the record in Congress, that they will take forward. So the Democrats achieved that very disciplined approach, got through a lot in that testimony. For us that are used to the quick sound bites, when we watched all of that over 7 or 8 hours, we were like, hang on, we want to see Mueller, thump the table and say this president's a criminal. It was never going to go down like that. But I feel over the next 24 to 48 hours, you're going to get some really good stuff coming out. It's already emerging now across the media. And honing into those particular parts of the testimony that were really quite explosive. So, having said that, as I said, it's easy some of the media have been doing what I would call the hot takes, where they make these fairly rash judgments fairly quickly. We will need time to see how Mueller's testimony is going to play out in the electorate. But I want to have a look at that now. And then I want to look at, from yesterday's reading, it would appear that the Democrats are going to wait for his financials. Pelosi, after the congressional testimony, confirmed that they were still gathering evidence before they would impeach. I want to know if the impeachment calls are going to grow stronger. I want to know if the courts are actually going to approve the handing over of Trump's financials, both at the state and federal level. I want to know what Trump had a meltdown on the White House lawns. I want to take a look at that. And also we'll look at this counterintelligence investigation and see what sort of a pull I'm getting. I do want to keep this short today because I am very, very tired. So we'll just see how we go. Okay, let's start. Also, I want to add too, when I opened up yesterday's reading, I saw soldiers and rifles, and I wondered why I was getting that military image. The Pentagon was, as I understand it, one of my viewers drew my attention to it. Thank you, viewer. And then I found a story on Bloomberg to confirm it, that the military was actually conducting some kind of classified drill operation, etc., around DC. So Black Hawk helicopters were flying over the DC area, and also Army personnel and reserve personnel were actually on the ground doing performing some kind of operation. So that could be what I was picking up from, but I felt more it was around Mueller's safety. When he left the congressional chamber, he was flanked by policemen and a security detail. So that's probably what I was picking up on. All right, so let's get started. Mueller's testimony. Okay, now he started off by saying that he had seen several threats to U.S. democracy, and the Russian interference now, and they were still doing it, was one of the most serious, and every American should be paying attention. Let's have a look if Americans are paying attention to the Mueller testimony. Are Americans paying attention to the Mueller testimony? Are Americans paying? Okay, so what I'm getting is an image of a multi-paned window, and a couple of those panes are illuminated, which would say that more people may be paying attention today than what they were 24 hours ago. Yeah. Okay, so it's going to really take more work on the Democrats' behalf. to keep these congressional investigations going. And I go back to Pelosi's strategy that she wants to get everything tied down before they would move toward impeachment. Okay, so more Americans now paying attention to the Mueller report and the Mueller investigation, and more Americans paying attention. Mueller investigation. Okay, let's have a look. All right, the Queen of Pentacles. Okay, so that's that usually comes forward in relation to the economy and stability around finances and economy. The Pentacles are very much an earthly energy, so it's the everyday concerns. You know, am I safe really at the most basic level? And I feel that this is around. Perhaps some are considering the stability. What, you know, are they actually stable? Mueller said Russia was interfering as he was speaking, and that, you know, going toward 2020 there was a very real threat. Okay, so the Queen of Pentacles is the signifier card. What is it challenged by? Yeah, okay, so we've got the Nine of Swords here, which is you know, this anxiety, multiple worries. So what these two cards, the signifier card and the challenge, is telling me is that people are a little bit more worried about their security than they were. They're a bit more worried today than what they were before. Let's have a look at the base of the reading. Yeah, the Knight of Swords and the Ten of Wands. Okay, so this would tell me that there is movement in terms of the truth coming out, but look at the heavy lifting that crow is actually having to do in order to get that truth out. That's the base of the reading, and this is why I would discourage you from doing what I would call those hot takes on his testimony. This was never going to be a Hollywood script where we reach a climax and the bad guy's taken away. It's not working like that. This is very, very deep, and you know, long-term corruption that has built up over decades and decades and decades, not just in America but in all political systems. We are looking at what we have produced as a political system and its corruption, and it was never ever going to be that easy. That's at the base of the reading. However, I am encouraged. This crow, and I'm using the Crow Tarot, I'll get to tell a little story about this deck before I finish. This crow here is not dropping anything, and this is what I saw with the Democrats. This is exactly what I saw. I saw a very, very disciplined team, a very high-performing team, I might add as well. Some real stars on that. What was that contrasted with? What was that contrasted with? The Republicans yelling, red-faced. You know, if you think about the contrast, I just want you to think about the contrast between the two. Okay, so this is at the base of the reading. It's never going to be that easy. Let's bring the laptop down and keep going with the reading. I do apologise if I'm a little bit jaded, but I just couldn't tear myself away from that testimony last night, or in the early hours of the morning in Australia. So let's have a look. Base of the reading. The Democrats are doing that heavy lifting. The truth is actually emerging. It is hard. It's not going to be easy. What's at the base of the reading is the Page of Pentacles. It's always about the money, and it's always about the reward for effort. So how someone was rewarded for the effort that they put in. And it's also news about money too, and I want to go, because that's a Queen of Pentacles as well, I want to go to his tax returns straight after this. What's in the past? Okay, so, you know, the clock was ticking. Indeed, William Barr, not handing over key documents, not complying with subpoenas, etc. Again, trying to run out the clock. But this is also the clock starting to tick now. And what is this clock? It is the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune is a number 10, which is actually showing the completion of something. We're getting to some kind of conclusion or end of a cycle. It's just hard to see. It's hard for people to see. They just want this president gone now. But this is a Democrat, well, supposedly a Democratic elected president, a Democratic elected president with some help from Russia, let's put it that way, and upon decades of corruption in the system. Okay, so what have we got? We've got the Eight of Pentacles, which is the potential of the future. This is the Mueller report, and this is the sustained legacy that I was talking about. It is going to be around in 20 and 30 years from now. People are still going to be talking about it. Then it's going to be used for all sorts of decisions in the future. This is a sustainable legacy that Mueller's left, despite the fact he didn't stride into Congress with a hip shot percussion, for example, ready to draw his guns and take prisoners and then ride off into the sunset, having solved it all. He's done that. He's already done that. He's just done it in a different way to what you were expecting. He's done it through his report, and he did it. He consolidated it through his testimony in the Congress, and that's going to be apparent in the next 48 odd hours. What's coming up in the future is the Six of Cups. Okay, so we're going to be hearing something from the past. I did a couple of readings after the testimony in the wee hours of this morning, and I did feel that one of the courts is actually going to there's going to be some sort of news coming forward, possibly from the courts or a government. I'm tending toward a court, and it could be around those financials. Okay, what is currently happening now? We've got death. Okay. We're actually building the structures now to start something new. This death is not just a finality or an ending of something. It contains within it the ability or the capacity or the foundation to build something again. That is what's happening at this point in time. Now we've got the Three of Cups. There is celebration coming forward now in the environment that this ending is generating. It's also generating a coming together. And I do feel, and it's almost coming together in victory as well. I do feel that Pelosi did say that. She said that when they impeach, they don't want to divide, they want to actually unite. It was interesting. Some of the media commentators actually did remark that there were a handful of Republicans who were asking those questions that actually did show a glimmer of, wow, Russia's a bad actor. Are we safe? Are we stable? And this is where I think people's thoughts are going. The Ace of Wands in the hope. I feel this is the hope that we will have these new starts, and it will be an inspired new start. And we've got the outcome, the Three of Wands. This is an expansion now. Things I feel are just going to grow now. This is also looking at overseas. This could be alluding to the counterintelligence investigation, or it could be more coming forward from the congressional investigations. Things are going to expand, not contract. And I feel that Trump and Barr were hoping that things were going to just, die a natural death, that they were just going to peter away. The narrative that they were creating about a witch hunt, etc., was going to be the dominant narrative. That's not going to happen now. And that testimony before Congress of Mueller's was very symbolically powerful. Okay, we've got the isolation here up against someone is expanding and someone is contracting. The person that's contracting is also really having to reflect now as they move forward and potentially into a new cycle. And we've got the Tower card. Now, the Tower card is not coming forward. The Tower card's not coming forward for the Democrats or Robert Mueller. Well, I hope not Robert Mueller. I hope that he's safe. He was flanked by that very, very heavy security. The Tower card's coming forward for somebody, and I'm going to leave you to answer with your own intuition. If things are expanding, if things are going to keep going and grow, and somebody is going to be isolated with this hermit energy, and then we've got the Tower, I'll leave you to decide who that is. Okay, so the base of the reading, what we saw was the Democrats doing. These are the main cards. The Democrats doing that heavy lifting to get the truth out, which they did successfully. Mueller's report, fantastic legacy. Mueller himself did not, very rarely put a foot wrong as far as I was concerned. As I said, even his demeanour, that kind of frailty that he was displaying with the House Judiciary, which actually he became a lot stronger with the House Intelligence Committee. I feel he was more comfortable with the Intelligence Committee. Even that kind of frailty. We can't accuse Mueller of being a part of, he wasn't biased, was he? We can't accuse him of being on the Democrat side, for example. We can't accuse him of being on the Republican side. And isn't it an advantage if he had have come out with, all guns blazing? That would have been actually the wrong approach, because it just would have ignited everything. As it is, his legacy is holding. And this Queen of Pentacles is to me representing this gnawing doubt in people's heads about are they safe? Is their way of life safe? His address really advising, warning. It was a warning, really, that every American should be paying attention. Was quite powerful. Okay, so if you're going to go back, if you haven't seen his testimony, have a look at Chairman of the Judiciary Committee. The Page of Swords has just dropped out. Jerry Nadler, have a look at his opening address, and also Adam Schiff, and particularly Adam Schiff's questioning of Mueller at the end. I felt Mueller leaning into Schiff a little bit more than he had with others throughout his whole entire testimony, and I feel that was because Schiff is actually quite a competent prosecutor, and Mueller recognised that. Schiff really that those last questions and that summary of Schiff is Adam Schiff's is really well worth looking at. Okay, so and then if you want to have a little bit of a smile, you understand that if you're arguing with someone across the table, the person that loses the cool probably is losing the argument. Now, who was losing their cool there? In that testimony. Okay, so that looks good. Those cards are looking good. Let's have a look at the financials. Now, as I alluded to yesterday in my reading, Trump is now suing the state of is it New York, to try and withhold his tax returns, his state tax returns. Will that be successful? Of course, we had the Attorney General, the State Attorney General, Letitia James, coming out in a tweet saying no one is above the law, and we're going to be pursuing this investigation into Trump and the Trump Organization. How many times did you hear the Democrats during that testimony saying no one is above the law, no one is above the law? Six of Swords is relocation, moving on to better places. That card came out in the reading that I did last night. We might be moving out of this kind of hanged man obstruction type energy that Barr and the Republicans have been generating. We might be moving, that you could find that there is progress now. So Trump is suing, Trump and his lawyers suing to stop the release of his state tax returns. Of course, the federal tax returns, I think that is before the courts as well. So let's have a look. I did get the Hierophant card coming up a lot last night, showing that there could be some news from a court coming down fairly soon. Okay, so all right, now let me just think. Let my tired brain think. Okay, will Trump be successful in hiding his tax returns? No, that's a negative. No, let's just see. Will Trump be successful in suing so that his tax returns can't be made public? Will Trump be successful in hiding his tax returns? Will Trump be successful in hiding his tax returns? Okay, so he's certainly going to try. Page of Swords is our signifier card, suggesting there's going to be more. The truth is actually going to keep emerging. You know, this is our Page of Swords that is always there. It doesn't matter what deck I'm using. Challenged by the High Priestess. So the truth emerging, challenged by what is hidden. Okay, all right, so he is going to put up a fairly good fight. What's at the base of the reading, though, is the Death card. Again, remembering what occurs when something's ending, you start to build those firm foundations. I don't think after this there will ever be a president who will not be lawfully required to hand over his tax returns. And we've got the Empress. Now that is my Mother Russia card. It's a very strong card. There's an abundance of possible evidence in those tax returns. Now, is that surprising us? No. Okay, so let's have a look at the foundation of the reading. Six of Swords, moving on. Okay, so will he be successful in hiding it? This is a movement card, suggesting that possibly he won't, but let's keep going. In the past, we've got the Fool card, the New Beginnings, and I do feel, if you look back on I guess the way that, well, since Trump has been elected, the roller coaster ride, the ebbs and the flows, when he's had his wins, when he's had his losses. At the end of the day, I think the one stable wish that hasn't really, that hasn't been falling away is that people are wanting new beginnings. And what people want is generally what they start to manifest. Okay, so we've got the Seven of Cups in the sky. There's certainly the potential for illusion and throwing so many smoke screens that the whole issue is obscured. That is really the obstruction that I'm seeing, or that we did see Barr and co. Trying, in the ignoring, and the cabinet secretaries ignoring the subpoenas, etc. It's all about creating that murky kind of fog that you can't really see through. That's the potential. So, is it going to be a quick win? I'm not sure. Although we've got in the immediate future the Three of Pentacles. So this is telling us that there's potentially people are going to be working together in some way, but this is also indicative of this was also a card for dark money. Yeah, it's pretty shadowy if you look at this deck. Behind that, we've certainly got abundance here in front, but what's behind, you can't really see. It's almost like a cross between a forest and some sort of building. Yeah, I get the impression from these cards we are deliberately, this fog is deliberately enveloping us. Right now it's quite hard work. Here is our crow carrying the 10 wands here, but not dropping them either. The Two of Cups here, relationships, collaborations and partnerships between people. That's in the environment. Okay, so we've got the hopes and fears, the Ace of Wands, new starts, this whole desire for new starts. We've got the Queen of Cups here. Queen of Cups. Suggesting that something is being hidden. But it's not a card, it's not a no. It's like the Queen is actively supporting us to actually unearth this information. And there's a lot there. In this card, I'm being drawn to the pile behind the crow. There is a lot there to be revealed. Let's see what's clarifying that. The Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords. This is my house Nancy Pelosi card here. And we've got crossroads and decisions to be made. Okay, so, all right, so what I'm getting, I'm just going to have a look at that Queen of Cups. What I'm getting from this is it's going to be pretty difficult to get them. There's going to be more of this running of interference, but it seems as though once they are received, they will reveal a lot of collaboration, a lot of partnerships. They're just going to reveal enough for Nancy Pelosi to make the decision to impeach, and I feel this is what she's waiting for. So this Queen of Cups, revelations here that are currently hidden, almost like a divine source is actually helping in a way with this Queen of Cups. She's almost got an interest in seeing, that Queen of Cups actually could be Letitia James. This Queen of Cups has got an interest in seeing justice done, and so she might have the cup covered, but she's actually going to be uncovering it at some time. That's going to help Nancy Pelosi. That's what I'm feeling. Let's have a look. Clarification on the Queen of Cups. Clarification on the Queen of Cups. All right, so, abuse of power. Okay, the Five of Swords here. The Five of Swords clarified the Queen of Cups. Okay, so some kind of abuse of power is going to be revealed. It's going to be enough to really prompt Nancy Pelosi to move toward impeachment. Because I've got these two cards at the base of the reading, I'm feeling that there's going to be some kind of information in those financials about money in, how money was obtained, etc., and potentially could set off a trail which may link to deals with foreign bodies. Let's just put it that way, and could be potentially Russia. Okay, so really, from after this reading, if I was a Democrat, I'd say things are going quite nicely. The counterintelligence, this is where the media, I feel, is going to, let me just bring this back a bit. This is where I feel the media is going to concentrate its energies now, is on the FBI counterintelligence in ongoing investigation. And of course, we had Flynn's partner being convicted of conspiracy. Bijan Kian, his partner in his lobbying firm, conspiracy and acting as an unregistered foreign agent. What now happens to Flynn? It's not looking good for him. Okay, now Bijan Kian, it's in the media, so look it up. He was part of the transition team as well. Why did I mention all of that? I've got the Fool coming out here. Or, why did I mention that in relation to the counterintelligence investigation? The transition team. My pull is toward Kushner. And around that transitional era, inauguration, transitional era. Let's have a look. What do we need to know about the counterintelligence investigation? What do we need to know about the counterintelligence? Let me just shuffle again because we're moving off the testimony, and I just want to get, we'll do a follow-up on this reading, but I just wanted to include it in today's reading. All right, the counterintelligence investigation. What do we need to know about that? Does that implicate Trump and his children and his son-in-law? Does the counterintelligence, the ongoing FBI counterintelligence investigation that Robert Mueller referred to in his testimony, does that implicate Trump and his children and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner? Does it implicate Trump, the children, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner? Okay, so I'm getting a fairly good view here of his children. Okay, so we've got the King of Swords here. It used to be my Mueller card. Of course, Mueller was the foundation for all of this. So something came out of his investigations that was handed over into that counterintelligence investigation, which actually has been running concurrently. But I feel that Mueller in some way found something and actually handed that or contributed to that investigation. All right, what's challenging that is the Nine of Swords. It's something quite serious here because we've got quite a lot of anxiety. This could be what they're worried about. The Trump family are very, very anxious. These are my intuitive impressions. Okay, so the Chariot, things coming. This is strong. Whatever this investigation is, it's extremely strong, and it's ultimately going to be quite successful here because the Chariot does have an element of success to it. It's to do with money. With the Devil card, it's to do with money. Money and foreign governments. That's where we're at with it. The Nine of Wands. This of course is really putting up barriers. So it's not. I would say when we obviously won't hear about this counterintelligence investigation because it's a covert operation. Is that what they say? And there's boundaries and barriers against us knowing too much. But this crow here is picking up one of these wands, which is interesting. So even if the counterintelligence investigation is slow going, it's still going to yield with that crow picking up that wand there. It's going to yield information. We've got the sun coming out in the background of the card, and new growth is also indicated here. So if it's the longevity of that as well. We're not going to know straight away, but it is going to yield. It's going to yield something of quite importance here, and this is what this Eight of Pentacles is showing us. The money. It's a money trail that with this Devil card here as well. It's a money trail that it's also going to yield. Something to do with work. What's at the base of the reading is the Page of Cups. It's actually probably going to take people by surprise. And the Wheel of Fortune is really, when you get the page paired with a major arcana like this, the surprise is going to be quite substantial at the end of the day when that investigation is closed and potential charges could be laid. The High Priestess, there is a lot being hidden, or a lot was hidden. That is now the subject of investigation. The Knight of Swords, really movement to uncover the truth. Hidden, things hidden, something to do with money, something to do with greed and being chained. I'm feeling it. Okay, so we've got the hopes and the fears, strength here. The aspect of the Devil card is that there is. I'm feeling with this card there is an element of possibly what was paid for and what was expected in return. The outcome card, the Page of Pentacles. Unfortunately, with this card, yes, it's all around money. That's what this reading is saying. Absolutely, it's all around money, money coming in, how it was made. Counterintelligence, But this is also reward for effort as well. So I do feel this could be around transition, heavy lifting, and Russia. So ultimately, we're tied to Russia here. Something to do with money and Russia. That's what I'm feeling. Okay, now what is, I guess, on the bottom of the pack now that we've looked at our base cards is the Tower. So I feel that this is just going to keep going. There's not going to be any let up. If they thought that the narrative of it's a witch hunt was going to work, it won't. And I do feel that once those financials come in and they start to move toward impeachment, that's when you're going to get the Republicans having to choose whether they support a president who has, or president and the president's family, who has monetary ties, which have spilled over into the White House. They're going to be restricted in some way, and by whatever's going to come out, linked to the Mueller report, the ongoing investigations, the tax returns, etc. It's all going to keep going, and in the end, the Republicans are going to be in a restricted position where they have to choose to fly in the face of clear evidence or to move to try and remove this president from office. The King of Pentacles, the businessman, Trump the businessman. That was always the challenge, wasn't it? It was always going to be the problem. Always the problem. So I'm going to leave that there, and I hope that reading it's a rather long one today, but I just wanted to get on in case you were making those judgments about, it's a waste of time. It's, it didn't do anything. Have another look at it in 48 hours because I think you'll find that it did. All right. I'll be back again soon.